So here's one of the posts with its little side pieces here. And as mentioned before, we want to kind of hide the wire in between these two pieces. So the idea is we're going to trace where one of these is, and then we're going to cut a groove that is, underneath here, and that will fit the wire so that we do not have to see it. So I'm just going to mark where we need to go with it here, and we'll cut a groove. And we have the lines here of where the board goes, so we obviously want to keep that toward the middle. So we've got our saw here set to an appropriate depth, and we'll just run a couple passes down here, and it doesn't matter how far down we go because the board obviously comes down the same length. Obviously we'll come down probably to a decent spot here so that we can then drill a hole so it can come through. So we have our channel. We have a hole that goes from the channel to where the hole of the back of the electrical box will be situated. And we have a hole right here that will connect from the channel to the main board and through to the electrical box. And of course, once it's all put together, you should not be able to see any of it. I did squeeze the channel enough between the hole here where the screw goes and the side so that you can still use the same screws here. And there's our wire in our post. Makes its way on down and out here at the bottom. One of the things that I picked up this weekend at the thrift store was this Texas Instruments SR512 calculator. What drew me to this is the fact that it's complete in box. I thought that was pretty cool, so I went ahead and picked it up. It was $10. I didn't think that was too much for something like this. And yeah, so this is the box. Don't know much about it. I'm not a big, vintage calculator collector. This is like the first one that I've had, but being complete in box I thought was pretty cool. On the bottom here we can see faintly someone paid $65 for it, wherever it was bought originally. And yeah, the whole box is here. Open it up. There's a manual for all the information you need in 4 different languages. There's a carrying case and the calculator itself. Still in its package here. I'm sure somebody uses this thing. I don't think it was never used. Definitely has signs of use. And the battery is out here, and there's a reason for that. You can see it sitting right here. And of course I didn't look at it when I was at the store, but here's the power adapter. I'm like, okay, cool, it comes with a power adapter. That's nice. Okay, so you pull it out. We'll get there. Yeah, I don't live in that country, so that's not any help to me. And according to the bottom here, it is not universal. It is 220 volt, 50 hertz. It says 6.2 volt, but the information that I found online suggests that this runs on like 3.3 volt or 2.4 or something like that. I suppose it's more to charge the battery that used to be in it. Well, the battery was all corroded and was just done for. Thankfully, it didn't leak into the calculator circuitry itself, just its little container here. So reading some quick research online said to get rid of those, so I got rid of the 2 batteries. They're the same size as a AA, so maybe we'll be able to put a AA size battery in here. In fact, it looks like it would fit, and that should be able to power it, I assume, but we'll see. Yeah, so I have not been able to turn it on. It looks like it has a pretty cool display with little LEDs in there. that have individual numbers kind of magnified. That looks cool. So yeah, the power adapter is completely useless. And the power adapter plugs directly into the battery here, so it would have been useless anyway. The battery was useless. Cleaned up the corrosion just temporarily the best I could. Obviously it needs some more. But we'll see if just putting some batteries on it can bring it to life. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know anything about this. But once again, I thought being complete in box, and the box being in pretty good shape, was pretty cool. I don't think that's something you come across every day. So we got the light at the top of the pole. The wire comes down, hidden within, and peeks its way through underneath the deck here. Comes into a electrical box, and then, well, makes its way here, because this is the very last one. Of course, this wire could have just went right up in there, but having a box here is nice, as we can always add additions to it, being that it has extra holes here on either side. So that'll be good there. So I was just twisting these wires together. Got to put wire nuts on them still, and we'll close it up and move on to the next ones. I do want to say that probably some of this is not done correctly. Of course, these are not the correct connectors to use here. You should have watertight ones. These are indoor ones. My idea is, well, it's under here a little bit, so it's not going to get exactly rained on. It does then provide some air ventilation, so it doesn't get, you know, water buildup inside of here, so that a little bit of air through whatever gap there is can, you know, dry it up in there, whatever. But anyway, yeah, those aren't exactly the right connectors. I just have about 1 billion of those, so I decided to use them. But we'll get a cover on this now. And we're all closed up. Done with this one. There's the light. Comes on in. My original plan was to have the box over that hole, but that wasn't going to work out, so I did it this way. And here's our box. Put the cover on. Everything's coming up quick. The guys are going to be here in a couple weekends, and I got to get some stuff done. I didn't get any of it done this week. I've just been way too busy. I did get the wiring done underneath the deck, so that's good. But right now, I'm going to put this shelf up right here to put that nice old Panasonic radio on and whatnot in the little workout area here for my friend. And that's what we'll start with. There, that's better. There's plenty of space up above for the ceiling fan. And we got a place for the radio now. Our main electrical box is underneath here. And here's the one that'll control it all. Okay, so we need to run from the deck to under here. And I have the wire tube right here. I have it sitting in the sun so that hopefully it gets really hot and it's easier to bend and mold. I tried the original length right there that I had. It is literally this much short. Annoying, but I don't want to move the boxes. I like where they are. So we're going to use the new full length one, and hopefully it's warmed up enough. We got the tube mounted. I took down an old coax cable that was right there, and there's no use for it. You can kind of see it hanging right there. It goes nowhere, so it's useless. The box is right underneath there. I took this off because I was trying to feed the wire through just to get the correct length. So anyway, I just measured it and then measured the wire and gave myself some extra on the ends naturally. But anyway, now that we have this all up, just need to get the wire out of the Romex here. The reason behind that is because you should not put Romex wire in this. Apparently there's not really a code on it or something, but because it's just not supposed to have it. So it was cheaper to buy Romex like this and then take the coating off than to buy the individual spools of wire. So that's what we did. Plus we need Romex for inside to wire up past this point. Got the outlet installed out here and the wire ran inside, and I had to just trim off some plastic on here and here with the Dremel so that it could be nice and flush. Works great. So that is done on this end. Last has to be done in there is to hook it up with the breaker. We'll do that tomorrow. And now we'll work over there. We got the wire for the lights, the main wire in, and then the wires up to the outlet box above. Now just for a cover. While I was working on the electrical of the deck, I had my friend cutting down this pine tree in the back corner. The reason I wanted to get rid of it is it wasn't growing straight at all. It was growing at a very severe angle and towards the house. My concern was that if it got any taller and heavier, or if there was a storm of some kind, it may break and hit the house, and obviously that's no good. So I thought, let's take care of this now before it gets too big and starts to, well, pull out of the ground and hit the house. So obviously it's gone now. And the other nice thing is I don't have to pick up a million pine cones anymore. Okay, so we got the new wire, the white one there coming down, wired in to this breaker right here. It's still off at the moment. So let's go outside and put in some of our bulbs here. Of course, we have the Philips Hue. One of them already has one in it, so we just need to put them in the other three, and then we'll turn it on and see what we get. Okay, so we got all the Philips Hue bulbs installed. For example, here. And, of course, we have a switch for the outlet up here, so we just have a bulb in there, and in here is the switch for the deck lights and the switch for that outlet and just an outlet. So of course this works with an app, but it's working. So the only thing that isn't working is the outlet, and I think I forgot to hook up the neutral, so I'm gonna have to take a look at that. Yep, no neutral. That would be the problem. Adding the sunshade is wonderful. Does exactly what I wanted it to do. Problem is, securing it under the house like this and using a giant zip tie isn't that professional. Just to test and see, is a little low. I can walk underneath it, but I got some friends that are taller, and as you can see there, it really pulls down when the wind comes, but it isn't tightened up yet. It's just for testing at the moment. So, being that this is too low, I'm going to go on the top of the roof and put some eye bolts up higher, and that'll also bring it up higher this way too. That one's nice and high, that one's a little lower. I intentionally did that so it has a little bit of a slope when it's all said and done, but I have two more poles underneath the deck here, so if that one is too short, we can definitely replace it with one that's a little bit longer than that one by a couple inches or so. So let's put it up on the top of the roof instead. Okay, I got these up on the roof here. I was using zip ties before. Now we got some appropriate plastic coated wire here. We used it to put out Ethernet line from the house to the shed, so some left over, worked good. Had to go and pick up these little U-bends with the little tighteners. I forget the name of them to be technical about it. Got one over there too. And as you can see, I put them on the roof. I believe we talked about that. I don't remember the last clip. But now we just need to silicone around it or something. But I have it lined up exactly where a truss is. So it is in there secure. I don't know if I'll leave it up all the time, just because of wind and whatnot. But we'll see how it goes. I've shown a couple times here this new traffic light that I have acquired, the first in the collection. It's an 888, it's an 8-inch traffic light, so in a way it's good that I found a smaller one. The 12-inch ones are big, especially this one having the, I forget the name of the shield that they put around. It's like a visibility shield so you can see the lights better. Anyway, it is time. I need to find a place to hang this thing, to be honest, and show it off and enjoy it. So, well, we need to find a place to do so. So, where in the world could it go? Well, it could go somewhere on this wall, but it's kind of filled up with tools and stuff. It can go somewhere on this wall, but again, there's items there, so that don't work. I think about right here would be great, but let's think about other ideas. Go in this corner, but that's just too small. We can't go in the workout area. It's just too big for anything to be flat against the wall. Can't really go in the middle. It's just too big again. So we come back over here. I took down the Mercury Vapor NEMA head here that I still need to clean up. And I'm thinking it'll go right here between the garage doors. I've already moved a couple things, the light, the little Yoshi there. And, well, it has a big arm on the back of it, so it's obviously going to stick out a ways if it went right in the middle. So my idea here is to mount it, the plate somehow at an angle here. And then the arm will stick out, and then you can, you know, turn the light and then just make the light angle straight. And I think that'll be fine, judging by how I have tried it out here a little bit ago, just holding it up. It's quite heavy naturally, so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put the plate on the wall here and get that all put up, and we'll see how well it fits in this space. There it is, quite big again. So got it up. It's on the pipe there. Pipe's 2 bolts, pre-drilled holes for the bolts that go into both of these 2x4s here. In fact, there's 3. So we're nice and sturdy there. And then a little spacer block in the back. I know it has a gap at the bottom there, but most of it has to do with the angle of where those bolts sucked it in and is holding it. And then there's some screws over here that go through everything just to stabilize on that side. It's not necessarily needed because these 2 bolts are very sturdy, but it gives me peace of mind. So there it is on the pipe. Of course, you can open it up and loosen the bolts inside to get it at a different angle, which we will do. And those are right there. So I suppose that'll be the next part of the journey. Now it's at the correct angle. It's still just sitting there, so I'm gonna take it down and give it a quick washing before it all gets wired up. Down here in the basement bathroom laundry room combination dealio, we have obviously a shower, and the problem is the shower drips, and obviously that happens when the door is open, and there is a seal inside here that, you know, will help the water drip back into the shower itself. But the problem is that sometimes some water seeps out. And down below here, there used to be trim. You can see some of it here. But this trim was like a particle board, press board, you know, papery, glued together type stuff. It's not really anything made for wet locations. Now, the previous people that put it here just put some caulking on the top of it, and they were like, yep, that is good. Obviously, over time of it actually being used, because I don't think anybody used it, the previous owners, but it just started to rot all of it out, and of course get mold and stuff, and I've cleaned up most of that here, but you can see some of it there, and I just have it soaking in a solution right now, and then I'm gonna give it another clean before I put some new trim on. Well, what kind of trim am I going to use? Obviously, I can't use that same kind of trim. It'll do the same thing again. So I found some PVC trim, and that's what I'm going to use. It's obviously rated for wet locations because it is plastic after all, and it won't get moldy. I will definitely put caulking on the top and bottom, so if anything does drip, as you can see, it drips off of the front here. It never touches the actual drywall here. That's in fine shape. It's just where it hits the molding, because it sticks out a little further and then just ruins everything. So I'm going to replace all of this. The worst piece was right here, but just for the sake of it being good, because you can see how it kind of just tapers off there and whatnot, we're just going to replace all of it. So that is the project at the moment. Obviously got all of it off, cleaned it. Now we just need to get some new stuff. It's a good project to do while the traffic light is drying after it being cleaned outside. So I decided to cut it here on the chop saw, whatever you want to call the thing, and because it makes perfect angles. It's made like that. Now using a handheld saw, you got to make all the lines straight and all that. Well, that isn't going to work out. So I got my measurements, I had my tape and everything, got all the pieces cut. I had my friend hold it over here so it's kind of even and whatnot. We have the board here, and then over here are our little pieces. So we have beneath the shower here, and then on the end cap, the other piece, the 2 little pieces, and the beginning from the door to the end. Now, I had originally tried a little piece here just to see, and that was freehanding it with this saw at a 45-degree angle. Obviously, that's not perfect, so I need better than a curve, as you can see there. So that's why I got that thing down. Should have started with that to begin with, but that's why you start with a little piece and see how it goes. So that is that. The old stuff's in the garbage. Now, I got some little finishing nails here because I don't have a nail gun to shoot them into the wall like professionals would use. So I'm just going to use these finishing nails. That'll be absolutely fine. My idea is to pre-drill some very tiny holes so that there's something for it to go through, and we'll be good to go there. So I'm going to clean up the rest of it in there, and we'll get these pieces put together. And here's the end result. I don't know why I didn't show a before picture. I didn't think of it. I just started the project. Much better. Of course, a little bit of damage there and stuff like that. We'll get that touched up when I get a thing of paint out. But for the moment, this is much better. It's all caulked up and looking nice. To control the traffic light, I obtained this very nice little controller here from some wonderful people at Gallic Electronics, if I said their name correctly. I believe they're based right here in the USA, and it was made here in the USA. So as you can see, there's a whole bunch of different things you can do. You can program it. You can use one of the many built-in options that you can see here. So there's all kinds of cool things you can do with this little controller. And, well, here it is. We got our little display. We got where all of our wires will hook up. It came with some zip ties and little standoffs. With all these main wires coming in here, I just put some electrical tape on the back just to be extra safe about it. But that just needs to be mounted in the traffic light now. And over here is where it is, of course. So I fed a wire through here, a cord, it comes down, and of course that'll plug in. But at the end of all the different light modules, of course the incandescent one has some crimp connectors here, but the LED modules have little spade connectors or whatever, and they have these little adapters that convert it to a screw connection. So that's pretty neat, but of course we don't need that anymore. So we're just going to cut these off and put them into the new device there. So obviously clean this up. The outside looks very nice. I didn't do much on the inside. I think I'll give it a quick wipe down. And I want to put it on this wall right here. I think there'll be plenty of space with the LED module down here. Plus it's easier to get to than up here, but you can see that's where it used to all be wired up. Unfortunately, the original bulb burned out. I know this frosted one is not appropriate for this, but I just wanted to make sure that the socket had good connection, and it does. So I have some appropriate traffic bulbs for it. I'll get one of those and put it in here. But for the moment, it is tested working. All the modules work absolutely fine. Just unique, you know, they used LED for the red and green and incandescent for the yellow. However, when I was downtown Seattle this week, I paid a little bit more attention to the traffic lights, and sure enough, they're pretty much all like that. The LEDs are the green and red, and the yellow, of course, it's not on very long, but you can tell it's iconic, you know, brighten up and dim down of the incandescent, and looks just like it. So very interesting there, but very unique at the same time. The controller is all mounted, and now we just need to close it up and enjoy it. So let's put our wires in here, and I've already made sure it works, but let's plug it in. Pretty cool. Of course, there's a whole bunch of different modes you can use. I like the traditional US one here, but I might change it up or even program my own, because you can do that. These modules are quite bright. Now I do have appropriate traffic light bulbs. In fact, I believe I have a couple of these exact ones in the collection I got at the Restore a while back. But they're kind of buried away at the moment, so we got the next best thing, a 40-watt appliance bulb. Why an appliance bulb? If you look, you will see that the filaments are pretty much at the exact same height relative to their base, and that's important for the reflector in the traffic signal. So obviously it's not exactly perfect, but the filament will at least be in the somewhat correct position. And just like this one with a C-shaped filament, here we have a C-shaped filament, even though it doesn't look that pretty. Working good, and just as bright as the LEDs. Yep. Yeah, well, that 40-watt appliance bulb is pretty much the same brightness. This is so cool to have in the collection. Helped my friend install some mirrors in his workout area. With the completion of the deck, I finally have a place to put these. I got these quite a while ago, like maybe a couple years ago or so, at Value Village for $20. It's brand new in box, never used, a complete set here of these string lights. These have become so popular, they're almost boring. But the nice thing with these is that they are incandescent. Yes, these are not LED like all the LED ones that are still all over the place. Of course, you can put in any bulb you want. You can replace it with an LED bulb if you want, but they're incandescent. And being from a name brand that I've heard of many times before, Fight there, I know the quality should be pretty good. I'm not entirely sure where someone would have acquired this particular set. I don't remember seeing them in stores anywhere. Maybe it was an order online type thing. Either way, they're incandescent, and this is fantastic. It'll go well with that dimmer outside. Now, like I say, these are everywhere now. They're almost so boring. The cool thing about it is that I have some very, very, very old sets, like really old sets that I used to put up for backyard lighting back home. And I believe there's a vlog style video where I share the backyard lighting at my parents' house, and you can see one of those strings put up and used in that video. But anyway, this is the more modern, a little safer adaptation of that, I suppose you could say. So, just take a quick look at the package here. Obviously, there's some examples of where you can use this. 24 lights, it's 48 feet in length. 11-watt bulbs, clear. Let's see here. What does that say? Includes 24 11-watt bulbs plus 12 spares. Hey, that's kind of neat. It gives you some spare bulbs. They're 14 gauge wire. Yeah. Nice. Just got so much stuff sitting around here from projects, you know. I did open it, obviously, to make sure everything was in here. And it is. We have a complete box of bulbs here. Of course, I opened that too just to make sure they're all here. Sure enough, there they all are. Unfortunately, these are the style of bulbs with the little tiny like squirrel cage looking filament instead of a C-shaped filament, but hey, we can always change that out. So yeah, brand new box of bulbs here, and we'll try to take it out with one hand. Here is some instructions, I'm sure, on how to put these up safe. And down here is the lights themselves with the string. So there we go. We'll take this outside and see what we can do with it. With the sunshade up, if it gets breezy, it puts a little bit more strain on these poles than I really like, and makes it sag, and you know, causes it to be more of a sail than a shade, you know, sail or whatever you want to call it. Anyway, what I've decided to do is add cabling from these poles to anchor points, such as this building, the shed here, or the old tree over here. Sure, it's a little ways away from the pole, but it's definitely close enough and sturdy enough to help support the, pull of the shade sail when it is mounted up here. Of course, the house is a very good mounting point. It's very strong, but these poles are made for a fence. They're good to hold things up, but not necessarily to bend all the time. So adding this here will definitely help. Glaceon has always been one of my all-time favorite Pokemon. #1. But I didn't expect to find this when I went to Target this weekend. I looked it up on their website to figure out how much it was because it was just sitting on the shelf with a bunch of others naturally. And come to find out it's not supposed to be released until September 3rd. Well, it's August, I don't know, 7th today or something like that. So they got it out like a month early or whatever. Only at Target, as we can see here. And with the light, we can see much better what it looks like. And of course, it shows on the side here too. Now, like I say, I'm not a big collector of pop vinyl figures, but when I find giant ones of some of my favorite Pokemon, I will pick them up. This is the second one that I have. All the other pop vinyl figures that are around here are my roommates and his favorite Yu-Gi-Oh ones there and some other franchises. But anyway, this will go up here with the Lucario and of course all the other Glaceon stuff. So that was a pretty cool find. The display shelf down here is very nice and all, but it has one problem. The problem is the Litollear display track lighting system light trim here. It's, well, tall, and it does obstruct viewing items, as you can see. I cannot see the high pressure sodium, rest of the box there, but if you're looking at it directly, like from actually up here, you can see more detail, in the boxes and everything. Of course, when you're sitting down here, you can see more, like on the boxes here, and a lot of that's cut off just because of the height of the light. So everything's sitting down on the shelf naturally, but it's sitting a little lower because of the light itself. It can't be brought up much higher. So how do we fix that? Well, obviously we need something that will bring up the height of the shelf to accommodate for this, and items can be up higher and thus viewed, well, more easily, and it'll just look better, I think. The idea came across that I could use wood or something like that to bring it up in height, but of course that's heavy, and that also costs money. Is there a cheaper and quicker, more simple solution? Sure, why not? Thinking about it, cardboard is a great solution. It is lightweight, thick, and durable, at least depending on what kind you find. So we go through plenty of cardboard at work. I decided to pick out some of the double walled stuff, so it has a wall in the middle, if I can talk. So it's like two pieces sandwiched together, and it's a little stronger than normal cardboard. So I cut a whole bunch of that to 7.5 inches. This is a 10-inch shelf. And of course the Litollear light trim itself takes up some room too. So we want to place the cardboard back here in the back area so that it lifts up the items enough so they're viewed better. Here are the strips of cardboard. I have what I believe to be absolutely plenty here. Of course, the light itself is 8 feet altogether. It's two 4-foot sections put together, and these are about 4.5 feet in length. So we're good there. Also, one thing I was thinking of that it will also help with is we have the supports naturally, and they stick up a little bit. Building up the base in all these areas, we will eventually bring it up to that height and put a flat piece over it, so we can even set things on top of where the supports are. So here's the cardboard pieces all put together. I decided on 3 layers. That was the perfect height to get the main top layer just above the supports that hold the shelf up. This particular one here is cut at an angle because we do need a spot for the cord to go through, where you can see that switch right there in the middle of the screen. So that is to compensate for the wire that has to come out of that and make its way over to the corner. So we'll get these up there and then create the top piece. Here's the top piece. As you can see, I set it back a little bit more just to give more light at an angle. And here's the last one. Again, cut at an angle just to accommodate the light there. And it throws a little bit more light in that direction. Of course, we have this cord here going to the Siri lady down there. So this is all notched out. So all you have to do is just put it against the wall here. And you pretty much have your solution. A little bit of overlap there. Didn't really plan for that, but that's just how it happened. So now we have a higher up solution. And we're all said and done. Not sure if it made much of a difference. It definitely brought things up higher, so you can see a little bit more detail on things. I can definitely see lookalooks now. So that's nice. The other nice thing is, of course, now things can sit on top where the supports are. So there's not necessarily a need to put things in between the supports when it's flat all the way across. I don't know. I'm pretty happy with the solution. Found this in an old corner room in a basement in Seattle. The wall has cured for a whole week, and it's now time to take out the tacks that are holding all the little pieces in place, at least for it to cure. I'm sure it cured a long time ago, but I wanted to wait a week because it did say between 2 and 7 days. So, I mean, there's no reason to do it too quick. It doesn't need to be done too fast. So we waited the whole time just to be extra safe. The one thing that I have noticed, as you can see, is nothing really lines up too good. The plastic, they're plastic, they're not even glass. Maybe they're glass or just really thin glass. Pieces are very easily bendable, ever so slightly. As you can see, you know, like the window doesn't line up there perfectly in the middle, for example, just because I tried to smooth them out as much as I could, but maybe when they dried or something, they bent to certain angles. So nothing's extremely perfect, but it does do the job. So now we just got to take all the tacks out. There we go. All the tacks are out. Now it just needs to be cleaned. Looks a lot better with all the tacks missing. But as you can see, it just has those little gaps in between everywhere. And, you know, nothing kind of lines up super perfectly. But yeah, it's not too bad. And I think it'll work. It'll work great, definitely, for all the, you know, watching your muscles and all that kind of stuff while you're working out. So perfect there. I definitely have to say, adding the wires that go from the poles to anchoring points definitely helps a lot in getting the sunshade here to be nice and taut. It doesn't blow all over in the wind anymore. It's always a very light wind here. It's never too much. But yeah, it works well. And I do need another turnbuckle for over here because now this is just too short. But that's okay. I'll go pick more of them up. The interesting thing here with the turnbuckles is that, so this one came from Home Depot. As you can see, it's an open stainless steel, whatever the heck thing. I think that's what it was, stainless steel. Anyway, that thing was like $8. And I think it holds like 180 pounds or something. And then Lowe's has these aluminum ones, outdoor, weather resistant, whatever, but they're 130 pounds or something. But I don't know how that skeleton thing can hold more than this. It just must be the properties of the metals. But these were like $3.50 instead of $8. So definitely gonna need to pick up another one of these because this is the perfect length for bridging this gap here. I was gonna use this for another project, so got to pick one up today, but this is going well. And we got the lights. The lights are put up. Let me get down from here. So the Fight electric lights are up, as you can see here. and they go over and back. I decided not to use cabling to hold them. So what I decided to do on both ends is loop it through the built-in loop on the light, and then take up some more slack and pull and whatnot with zip ties. So it takes some of the strain off of the light itself. But yeah, not bad. Now we just gotta get the bulbs in there. A while back, I put this Lightolier light trim track here in the window. Picked it up at the thrift store a couple years ago, probably at this point, or over a year ago. It is obviously a kind of bronze, brass, it looks like brass, I guess you could say. Something to that nature, you know, like it kind of goes with the wonderful Hunter original here. But it's not the same as the white ones that we have here. But I definitely want to have it out and used somewhere. I put it up and got some colored bulbs to put in it. So let's plug it in. And there it is. Now, the color bulbs are kind of neat because you got some color, but they're definitely not bright enough to light all this stuff up at night the way that I'd like it. So I don't know if I'll keep the colored bulbs, but I'm still debating that in my head. The other thing is, it needs to be plugged in somehow, and this isn't exactly that elegant. So I need to run this cord over and plug it into the corner there, so it's on the same switch as the rest of the Lightolier track lighting. Of course, everybody likes to drink water. The problem is the water that we have here has a lot of minerals and deposits in it and stuff like that. It's fine for use in washing and you know, things like that, but it's not the most enjoyable to drink. So obviously the guys buy a lot of gallon jugs and water bottles and things like that. In fact, I fill up a water bottle at work with our filter system and then bring it home. So how can we remedy that problem here? Well, of course you can get a whole home water softener. That is ridiculous, because why do you need that for everything? It's not necessary for this situation. You can get a filter that hooks up directly to the sink faucet, and we'll filter that, but I'm more interested in one of those little water spout things. So sure enough, here we go. After doing a little bit of research, I decided to go with this particular one here from Lowe's, the A.O. Smith 2-stage water filter. It has mixed reviews, but they're pretty good. Most of the negatives about it are leaking or people replacing the filters for the first time and then discovering leaks. My guess is people are just cross-threading it, and it just isn't sealing correctly because they're just doing it wrong. But anyway, I wanted a 2-stage system, not just a single stage, because that just gets rid of like chlorine and stuff. But a 2-stage system like this gets rid of deposits and what we're looking to hopefully eliminate in the drinking water. So that's one of the reasons I went with it. I got everything out here just to make sure that it is all here, because some of the reviews said that parts are missing. Of course, you know, people nowadays are opening boxes and taking things, so I made sure to take one from the back that did not have a replacement replacement sticker on it to hold it closed, because if it's a replacement, they may have taken something and just put a new one on. So everything's here, which is great. Now we just need to get under the sink, and boy, I don't really enjoy doing that. But yeah, under the sink it is, I suppose. So there's our supplies in the back. I've already been under here once when I got the place to put a new faucet on. So we'll get under here again. And I'm not sure if I want to put it on this side or this side, but the faucet will go right under the sponge there for the water. So I gotta move all this cleaning supplies. Got everything cleared out. Boy, you really realize how much junk you have sitting underneath the cabinet here once you get it all out. So we got the cold water off, and yeah, we'll go from there. So the first thing they want you to do is put the T on, and then get the faucet installed. Use the old GE work light. Perfect. And we got all of our wrenches. There's our T installed. We need to take out that thing so we can put our faucet in. Now we just need to put the tube on the T. Good to go there. Now, put the other end on the faucet. Now that we got the hose connected on both ends, just need to install this thing on the wall here. So I made some markings on here with the pencil so we can get it nice and level. And I got some screws to put in there. I didn't want to use the supplied ones. I didn't want them to go too far in because I do have the dishwasher right here. Okay, we got it hung up here, and we're all good there. But I'm going to take it down for a second because it's just sitting there, and we'll get these hoses connected. Got the filters installed on the unit and marked the tubing as far in as it needs to go according to the instructions on both ends. So now I'm just gonna hang it up here, and I guess we'll put the tubes in. Top of the housing came off while I was putting the hoses in. All I have in here is this little sensor thing and this battery. It's a big button cell. And yeah, that's really all this is a cover. And this thing must sense how often you change it or something, because I heard it beeps at you. I guess we'll see how that works when we get that far. But yeah, that's all that's in here. Not much. Well, it's all mounted in place, and the tubes just find their way to their homes. So let's go ahead and turn the water on here and see what we get. Okay, filled it up. I'm sure there's some air in the system. I haven't turned it on all the way yet. Okay, that's all the way. Yep. Let's turn it on. Again, I don't have it all the way, just letting the air out. Okay, it says to let it run for 10 minutes and to check for leaks during that time, so we'll let it run. After 10 minutes, the water is cleared up, there's no more air bubbles, and we're good to go. Okay, so I'm gonna run a line from there up to the point at the top, and then we're gonna get the shades up here for when the sun is in the west later in the day. So here's the basic idea. Definitely needs to be tightened up and everything. It's just held up with zip ties, but we're just getting it up to take a look at it. Yep, I mean, it works. Definitely see-through in a way, but it's supposed to block some sun. So I think it'll definitely help later in the day. We still have that gap in between there, but that's to be expected, I suppose. So I definitely need to get the main wire there tightened up a bit more. Much later in the day now, after doing multiple other things, I'm back to this project and decided to use another one of these pipes that's under the deck from the old fencing, and it works well. It's much more sturdy, obviously. It doesn't put any more strain on that, you know, pulling wise. If anything, it gives it a little more push that way, but it's mostly just sitting here. I found this L bracket that I could put on there, you know, just to cap it off and sit. It looks nice. And then up here, it's just kind of zip tied to the eye bolt just to keep it from going back and forth. But it's sitting on a little metal piece there so it doesn't rub on the roof itself. But we'll see how this goes. It's very zip tie-y together, so it can be very temporary. But I got these little hooks so it can be easily hung and taken down. I will move these around a little bit more to get them how I want it, and then I'll put the zip ties where they need to be and trim them, and that'll be the end of it. Not bad.